everybody. Ron Wildman here on Middle Georgia Spotlight, and shining this week on the High Sheriff of Bibb County.
Thank you.
David Davis.
All right, thanks.
Good to have you with us,
Glad
Sheriff.
to be here. Thank you for having me, Ron. Thank you.
And this is a special year, too, for you.
Yeah, it is. It's election year, and running for my third term as sheriff, and I hope that everybody will go out and vote and help me out to get that third term. We've been done some great things throughout my times as sheriff, and so we want to continue those great things, and the partnerships that we have created with the public I think have been unparalleled. The things that we've been able to accomplish, and people talk about the crime rate and that sort of thing, but realize in 2019 our total number of reported crimes was lower than any time since consolidation, and this year they're even lower than that. Now, part of that is the COVID. Particularly our property crimes are down significantly because so many people are at home and people have been quarantined. So that's one positive aspect
out of that virus
of a bad pandemic. However, on the flip side, we've had some tragic, some homicides and that thing. But because of those partnerships with the community, since consolidation, we have solved 80% of the homicides in Macon-Bibb County, and just this year we solved almost 75% of the homicides, and that's because of the relationship that our investigators and all of our people and myself have built with the community, that they are willing and able and feel trusted to come forward with any information they may have about crimes.
If you keep up with the news every day, like I have a habit of doing it, even
though
I'm
you've been in
somewhat
the news.
retired.
That's right.
Your investigative staff is outstanding. Eventually, these people get caught.
Yeah, there's a slogan on the street that 3 days and the sheriff's office is going to have a name. So we've done some phenomenal work, but they cannot do that by themselves. It is because when something happens, the phone rings. Many of our investigators are products of this community, just like myself. I grew up here. I grew up just a stone's throw from where we're taping this now here at Mercer.
Old Lanier Central High School
over
area.
There by where old Central High School, Old Lanier. In fact, the Central High School sits on the house that I grew up in over there. So my roots run very deep in this community, and been at the sheriff's office for 41 years now. So, and then sheriff for 8 years. So we've built some strong relationships and built some great experience to keep running. We are the Bibb County Sheriff's Office is about the 5th largest sheriff's office in Georgia, and we're one of the top 10 largest police departments in Georgia. We have an authorized strength of over 700 employees, and so we are a large agency, and it takes some skill and experience to run that. And then you have the jail. We have to run the jail, courts, and all of those things. So I've worked in every one of those facets of the sheriff's office to bring that experience out.
Well, you in effect took over a police department during consolidation, the Macon Police.
That's right. Well, the Macon Police Department, that was one of the facets of consolidation, that they merged into the Bibb County Sheriff's Office, and so we were able to bring those two organizations together and build one great organization that's now Georgia State certified through the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. There's over 180 standards that we have to meet to get that certification. So we've done some great work, and on top of being short, everybody talks about the shortage of deputies and that sort of thing, but we are hiring some people now. We've hired about 5 or 6 just this month. We've even had some that have left and want to come back. So some things are looking a little brighter. The county commissioner is supposed to look at this new pay scale that's supposed to be on the table here very soon. I know that Mayor-elect Miller and some of the new commissioners have pledged their support to fund that and to implement that pay scale.
It's one of his top priorities.
That's right, and I really appreciate that. He and I have been into some conversation about that, and we have really worked hard to get that. If you'll remember, it was me and the sheriff's office that sort of pushed that along a while back. If you remember, there's a video of me tearing up a letter to try to get the commissioner's attention for better pay for the deputies, firefighters, and all county employees. And I think we're right there now. The commissioners are supposed to look at that pay scale here in the next few weeks and vote on adopting it. So it looks very good, and so that will help us to become one of the more higher paid law enforcement agencies in this region.
How many employees are you allocated?
Well, about 600 deputies, and then probably a little bit more, about another 150 civilian and part-time staff. So like I say, we're one of the larger sheriff's offices in Georgia, and when you compare us to other police departments, we're a large police department too.
Now, talk this past year and beyond that, it's been the shortage. How short are you of deputies?
Well, we're about, if you look at how many deputies that we had on day one of consolidation, and that's sort of our zero reference points. Like when you balance a checkbook, that's kind of the day that we look at how many people we had on staff to what we have now. We're about 140 or 150 fewer deputies now than we were then. The early out, we lost over 50 deputies in like 3 months back in 2015. And it was hard to overcome that. And then when some of the conversations about changes of benefits and no raises came, the deputies said, you know, we can go to Monroe County and make $40,000 instead of $32,000 here in Bibb County. So they go to those other agencies. So that's really hurt us. And so now if we get this pay scale up, the new pay should be over $40,000 for a certified, experienced officer. So I hope that we'll be able to attract some of those officers back from some of the smaller agencies around here. So there's a lot of different components in that, and we've really been working hard to get the shortage overcome. But through efficiencies, you know, when you merge and you do that, if I could hire about 75 more deputies, I think we could really do a good job. Not saying that we're not doing what we need to do now. We're just using a lot of overtime. My deputies, you know, I have the comment that one deputy is working for 3 because they'll work a shift and then the next day they may be off, but they'll come in and work another shift. So we're having that throughout the sheriff's office, whether it be in the jail, patrol, even investigation. And when we have a serious incident, one of these violent crimes, it's all hands on deck then. The drug unit, the gang unit, the violent crimes unit, everybody comes together to get a resolution to these serious incidents.
You're also basically running a prison down there.
That's true, and that's a very complex situation too. That I've worked the jail, been a supervisor back in the jail through my career, so I know how a jail works. And there's a lot of different components and that you have to do. Our jail can hold up to 966 inmates. Right now we're around 750, 760. Because we've kind of kept the count down because of COVID. The courts have kind of worked with us on some of that. But typically, prior to COVID, our inmate population was around 830 or 840. And that's a whole, the main priority of a jail is first to keep them in jail and then to make sure that they're cared for and their needs are met physically, feeding them and medical and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of challenges when you have a jail, and then we have a jail that's old. The older part of our jail is pushing over 40 years old now, and then our addition is pushing 20 years old. So at some point in the future, I'm beginning to plant that seed, but at some point in the future, some things probably need to be done to look at our physical plant, maybe even build a new jail, because we are always having maintenance issues, particularly in our older facilities, plumbing, cell, the cell doors, plumbing, all that sort of thing. You can imagine somewhere that's lived in 24/7, 365 and is being used constantly has some maintenance challenges.
You always have courts looking over your shoulders. That's about true. Operation of jails. Precisely. How do you feed that many people every day?
Well, it's a challenge. It's like any big facility, like a hospital or a jail. We have a central kitchen where all the food is prepared, and then it's placed into these warming trays so that it stays at a particular temperature as it's taken all throughout the facility. And a few years ago, we put women into the kitchen and into the laundry because in many jails, the women don't really have that much stuff to do. They don't have work for them to do inside the jail, but we decided to put the females in the kitchen and in the laundry. And I know some will say that sounds sexist, in the kitchen and in the laundry, but it really does help they keep on top of the food, they keep on top of the laundry, and because it's females preparing it, we're finding that contraband doesn't get moved around as much, because if you have males preparing for other males, they can move stuff around through the jail because they know where all it's going and everything. But the females are not really interested in moving contraband out to the males. So we've noticed that difference too.
We all know the ladies do all that stuff better anyway.
Well, yeah, and the food it's all, we have a contractor that oversees the meal preparation, that prepares the menu, but the actual cooking and all that and the cleaning and that sort of thing is done by the females, and they earn what's known in our world as good time. For every day they serve doing that, they get a day off their sentence. So it gives them an opportunity to work off some of their sentence when they're in the jail.
Okay, what do some of the men have to do when they're behind bars?
Well, the men, we have a whole other section that they do cleanup, general cleanup, maintenance work. You'll see some of our male deputies out on the side of the road clearing trash, picking up trash, clearing vacant lots. And that's one of the things that I'm very proud of that we've done since I've been sheriff. We take our inmate work crews into some of these blighted areas, in some of these areas where there's overgrown lots, that sort of thing, and go in there and we'll clean it up and make it nice for the kids to be able to walk in, play in. One of our big accomplishments is over off of Unionville. There's that area right there just down from Mercer University at Pinona, over near New Piney Grove Baptist Church.
Straight Street.
Yeah, Straight Mosley, all that is what they call the field.
Yeah.
And that was a gathering place, and there had been shootings and homicides that have spurred from that very location. And last year we went in and cleared that completely out, and it's just it's made a phenomenal difference. They've not come in there and congregated and created the mischief that they had in the past. And so that was one of the larger blight remediation efforts that we've done. And so in different neighborhoods all throughout the community, we've gone in and cut some lots and cleared out some places so that the neighbors and the kids can feel a little bit better about where they're living.
You work the neighborhoods pretty good as far as scouting out what's needed.
Exactly. We do our neighborhood walks where we go and look. You can see a lot more when you're walking along at like 3 miles an hour than driving along in a car at 40 miles an hour. So you can see, you can kind of get a feel for the neighborhood. You get a feel for what the people need. We certainly always try to reach out to the kids and do that. It's one of the things that I've been disappointed this summer. We haven't been able to do as many of them because of COVID and people trying to keep their distance and that sort of thing. But we've done a few, and we still connect with the community, and especially keep up with some of these blighted lots and places that need clearing. And we'll send our work crews into that.
Speaking of keeping distance, you started a new reporting program to report crimes and other things to your department just this week.
Yes, just this week. We announced it today, really. It's called COPLOGIC. It's through a company called LexisNexis. But what it is it gives people an opportunity for minor crimes. There's a whole list of different incidents that can be reported, but they can do it at their own time and their own leisure to go in and do this online. And you can go to our website, bibbsheriff.us, and there's an icon up in the upper right hand side that says make a report, and you click on that and it'll walk you through all of the prompts and all of the fields that you need to fill out. And that's really going to help us. It helps us on several levels. Certainly the COVID situation, we don't have to risk our deputies, or certainly risk the public possibly being exposed to the virus. But it also helps us to prioritize what we do from as I say, there's no such thing as a minor crime if you're the victim.
Oh yeah.
If I can tell you that crime is down, which it is throughout our community, but if your lawnmower got stolen, it's up 100% at your house. So we understand that is a very important thing to you, and you want to have it reported and you want to have it solved. But this, for something like that, it gives you an opportunity. You can do it at midnight in your pajamas, and you go online and you just fill out the.
You can do it right away.
You can do it right away.
Rather than the wait to go down to the office.
Precisely. You can do it right away.
When you're angry about it.
Yes, you can do it right away. Make sure you have your serial numbers and all of that identifying information, but you can do it then, and you can be done with it. In the time that it would take you to call dispatch and have a deputy come out to your house, you can be completed this report and moved on to something else. And then, you'll get an email confirmation, and then we have a staff that will look at the reports. If there's any follow-up needs to be done, we'll follow back up with the victim. If there's any investigation needs to be done, it moves on over to the investigators for them to follow up. So I'm really excited about that, and it's just another way of making us really more efficient at what we do. There's several other agencies in Georgia that have. I think Savannah PD has it, Augusta, Richmond has it, and so we're proud to do it. And it helps us certainly. When we talk about shortage of staff, it helps us to kind of allocate our resources in an efficient manner, and it gives people that easier way to make a report.
I remember some of the address, www.bibbsheriff.us.
Yes, www.bibbsheriff.us. And when you go on the home screen will come up on the right side. It'll have a little line that says "Make a Report," and you just click on that, and it'll take you to the system, and it asks your name and all that stuff. So it's a great. And you can report certainly a theft if you have complaints, say speeders in your neighborhood or nuisance situations. You can make those type of complaints. If you have an animal running loose or animal control issues, you can make those kinds of reports and let us know about it. Suspicious activities, a whole lot. There's a whole list of a couple of dozen of different incidents that can be reported online. But that does not say that if you want a sheriff's car to come to your house, no matter what the incident is, if you want a sheriff's car and you call the dispatch, a sheriff's car will be sent. So we're not going to encourage people to use this instead of that personal contact. If they still want to see the deputy, we will certainly accommodate that.
Being in news, a lot of our news is the spot stuff. Of course, murders and shootings, but armed robberies. Yeah. Don't they just drive you buggy?
Yes, we do. They do, and so it is. We get them, and we've had even in armed robberies this year we're down.
Yeah.
And then we had a spate there where we had the dollar stores that were getting robbed. That was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that ended after a while.
Yeah, because we caught them. Usually
that'll solve a problem.
Yeah, that solves a problem when you catch them, and so that solved that issue, and they're still in the jail awaiting trial. Some of them, so either catch them or run them to a different jurisdiction. And so that sort of slowed us down there. For a while, we had if you remember last year, we had a big burglary ring that was breaking in businesses all throughout the community. And we tracked those individuals for a couple of months, making sure that we had the right people and their associates, and we made a big bust and arrested several people involved in those commercial burglaries.
How does a sheriff, meet with your people and emphasize certain things? Do you ever get large groups of them, or you have a leadership staff, or what?
Well, we have the command staff, the executive staff, and then the command staff, that meets with the people. Plus, we have a very robust neighborhood watch program. We have over 50 different neighborhood watch programs throughout the groups throughout the community, and then we just go out in the street and meet with them. We have a very strong outreach function of our sheriff's office, where they're in the schools, they're in the neighborhoods, they're doing all of this. And one of the things that we're looking very much forward to, if you remember the old rescue mission property right at the corner of like Telfair and Hazel Street.
Behind the sheriff's office.
Behind the sheriff's office. Well, we purchased that earlier this year, and that's going to be our outreach and restorative justice center. All of our outreach efforts are going to be housed in that one building. We're partnering with other community groups. There's a program called Book 'em. Katie Powers runs that, and where she goes with us when we have outreach activities, or where she's having outreach. I think she's going to be out at this bike where they going to close down the road for the bike walk making thing. And so she'll be giving out books, and she was with us a couple of weeks ago when we were giving out book bags. So that's a great community asset that'll be housed in our outreach center. So we hope to be in that later on this year. COVID kind of slowed us up as getting the contractors and that sort of thing, but we're moving forward on that now.
Well, recently I was down there, and you launched a program with Macon's ministers.
That's right. Yes, the Concord Project, and that was launched with several African American ministers. There's some white ministers involved in it too. We kind of got together and brainstormed about some programs. These ministers sort of approached us with an idea to want to go out and reach out into the community and partner with the sheriff's office. And so we sat down and sort of brainstormed, and they call it the Concord Project. In concordance, everybody's together, and so that's what it is. In fact, just last week we had some training with them, because they're going to go out and ride with deputies. And so kind of give them what to expect and what we expect for them to do, because the deputies can sometimes get into some dangerous situations. We want to make sure that they don't get harmed in any way, and that they can know what to expect. And so it's been very positive. We had about 20 of the ministers that was in that training last week, and so we're getting ready to have that part of it where they're going to ride with the officers and get in the community. And then further than that, they want to sort of be a liaison and sort of get into what some of these underlying issues for some of this violence is, education, job issues, the hopelessness, the blight, all of those kinds of things. And they want to sort of get into the community and see what they can do to help that from a ministerial lane. So many people say, well, why don't these churches get involved? Why don't so many churches? Well, these particular churches and these clergy members are getting involved, and so I'm very, very appreciative of that.
Anybody that watches national news realize these are hard times for law enforcement, especially in some of these other communities. How have we avoided becoming controversial with our arrest methods and things like that?
Well, I think it's that building of trust with the community. I'm out there all the time in the community, in the diverse. I'm all over Macon Bibb. I mean, I don't stay in one part of the town or another. I'm everywhere and interacting with the community. Our agency reflects demographically the same percentages as our total population of Macon Bibb. And so those kinds of things, we have so many of our officers that grew up here that are like myself, products of this community. So they either know most of the people or are related to them or have somebody that knows them. That's why we have such a success rate whenever we do have violent incidents, because so many people know us and can trust us with the information. So and being understanding, when we've seen some of these terrible things that have happened that law enforcement people have done, I am just as upset and angered by some of the actions of some of my brethren in law enforcement, by the way they treat people, whether they're African Americans, white, anybody that's mistreated. I'm shocked by that, and particularly it seems to be so much of people of color. That we're certainly not going to tolerate that here, and I think that people know that I'm not going to tolerate that type of behavior from my officers. And I have a record of arresting and terminating those officers that step outside the line, and we'll continue to do that.
A lot of people don't understand when you're up against it and your life is at stake. I'm talking about the officers. They have to do some things that us average citizens don't understand.
Yeah, well, and it is, and there's, people, the pundits and the media and people like that, they have hours and hours to dissect and to second guess a situation that an officer is in just mere seconds, to make those determinations. And that's why it's very important investigate those type of incidents before anybody jumps to any type of conclusion. And that's why whenever we have a serious incident, an officer involved shooting or anything like that, we have the GBI comes in, and it's their findings are turned over to the DA's office, and then they make a determination of if there's a legal justification for the use of force and those kinds of things. So, to have that independent eye looking at it and making sure that our folks are doing what they're supposed to do is really helpful. And I think that we've built that trust in our community that they know we're going to do the right thing, and they know that I'm going to make sure that the right thing is done when one of our officers is involved in something.
What's your advice to your officers when you send them out on the street in dealing with crime?
Well, when they're out there, the main thing that we stress to our people, have your training. Most of the time that an officer does something bad, it's because of a lack of training or a lack of supervision. And if you're weak in those two things, then you're going to have some problems. The officers now, we're trained in de-escalation. That's a Georgia state mandated training we have to take, the de-escalation. I require our officers to take crisis intervention training. That's another step higher that helps people to deal with people who are mentally ill, who have type of crises and that sort of thing. So we mandate that for our deputies to take that training, to give them just a little bit more knowledge of how to deal with somebody who is having a bad situation. And that training has come in several times for our officers where they could have used more force, but they knew how to handle a situation, they knew how to talk to somebody, and knew how to resolve it without any type of physical issues.
Time's gotten away from us. This is a campaign.
Yeah.
I want to give you a little time to talk to the folks if you want to. Well, why David Davis needs to be your guy 4 more years.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and I just appreciate that, Ron, and I appreciate this opportunity. This is my asking for another term. We've been about changing lives. We've changed lives, by arresting dangerous criminals. We've changed lives by, reducing our crime rate. We've changed lives in the blighted areas with our inmate work crews. And we've certainly changed lives with our youth, with our CHAMPS programs in the schools, with our athletic programs, with our Explorer programs, because that's the key to reach the younger people and to make a difference in their lives, so as maybe to prevent a serious incident down the road. And so we have a lot of things coming forward. One of the things we talked about earlier, this COPLOGIC, we're giving people an easier way to interact with us, to report crimes and incidents. We have our Sight View program where we have 14 cameras up in various parts of the community where we can watch these lawbreakers. My next move after that is to get a program called Shot Spotter that ties in with those cameras and will tell us specifically exactly where gunshots are going off, and that way we can hopefully see and catch these people that are illegally firing firearms. And then that ties into our other technological program, our NIBIN system, that takes shell casings and links them to a national database to see how they're linked to other crimes. And we've been able to tie several incidents together just by shell casing. So we've done some dynamic things and some great things during my term, and we got a lot of great more things to do, but it takes that partnership with the community and working with each and every one of the people who lives here to meet their needs and make sure that they're stay safe.
Sheriff's race to be on the November ballot, also early voting.
Early voting, I think, starts October the 12th. November, this is a partisan race. The sheriff's race is a partisan. I'm a Democrat. My opponent's a Republican, so vote. But you can vote either way in the general election. But the sheriff's race is partisan.
And speaking of Mr. Rickardson, we'll have him on next week here on Middle Georgia Spotlight. Sheriff, thank you very much, and good luck in the coming race and possibly the next 4 years.
That'll be good. Thank you. I look forward to it, and thank everybody out there in the community that have given me these first 2 terms. And I hope I have earned your vote, earned their vote for another term. And we've done some great things together with the citizens, and we want to look to do more great things.
All right, Sheriff. Thank you, folks, for being with us. I'm Ron Wildman here at WMUB TV.